Tonight, chaotic scenes at Celtic's annual general meeting. Boos and chants at the board from frustrated fans saw it abandoned, inflaming tensions over the running of the club.
Absolutely shameful for the Celtic board. Calling the Celtic fans bullies and liars. The board is not perfect because they're human beings, but quite frankly, that is not the Celtic supporters that I've known in the past.
I just wonder what the great Jock Stein would have thought of it all, you know, who preach unity at the football club.
We're live at Celtic Park with the latest. Also making the headlines, as temperatures fall, energy bills are set to go up. Bad news for families already struggling to heat their homes.
The times I've actually sitting on Christmas Day with no gas, no electric, and if it hadn't been for someone giving me money in an envelope, I wouldn't have had any heating on that day.
A leading expert on the spread of infectious diseases tells STV News Scotland is not prepared for another pandemic. And we meet one mini mascot who's on cloud nine after Scotland's World Cup qualifications. I'm John Mackay. This is the STV News at 6. Good evening. There were dramatic scenes at Celtic's annual general meeting today after it was abandoned due to shareholders unhappy with the running of the club, booing, holding up red cards and chanting "sack the board." In a statement, the club branded the behaviour completely unacceptable. Well, Rahman Bardwaj is outside Celtic Park for us tonight. And Rahman, you were at the meeting. Have you ever seen anything like this before?
No, John, these were unprecedented scenes, certainly at Celtic Football Club. I was one of a number of journalists who attended the AGM. We were invited to attend by the club. Now, we were all sitting at the back of the hall. We all expected the top table to get a bit of a grilling from the floor. A section of the club support is angry with the way the club is being managed or mismanaged, as they would claim. So this was a further opportunity for them to vent their anger towards the board. And boy, did they do that. Celtic chairman Peter Lawwell warned shareholders that they would not get the opportunity to ask questions unless order was restored. It wasn't, so after just 4 minutes and 37 seconds, he adjourned the meeting. After 30 minutes, it resumed, but not for long. When an annual general meeting turned raucous, some Celtic fans are angered by the way the club is being run, and they made their feelings clear as the meeting got underway. Chairman Peter Lawwell warned he'd adjourn the meeting if this behaviour continued. It did. 30 minutes later, the meeting resumed, but not for long. Dermot Desmond is the club's single largest shareholder. He wasn't present, but his son, Ross, was.
Can you please be quiet? Show a bit of respect. Not just to the listen, you don't want the meeting to close. I take it. We'll behave.
Desmond did continue, and he took aim with a prepared statement.
So we will not be bullied by aggressive, irrational factions. We will not be railroaded by those whose only vocation in life is to be anti-establishment and by those who try to degrade the club. This further infuriated some in the room. Soon after, the meeting was abandoned.
I declare the
Absolutely shameful for the Celtic board. Calling the Celtic fans bullies and liars, and they'll not take this. This board aren't fit for purpose.
Never seen anything like that in my life before.
How long have you been a Celtic supporter, sir?
Well, I'm 78 and I've been going for I was about 8.
It's denied us the opportunity to ask questions.
Knew something like that was going to happen right from the minute we walked in.
The board is not perfect because they're human beings, but quite frankly, that is not the Celtic supporters that I've known in the past. I'm terribly, terribly disappointed.
Celtic said regrettably they had to conclude the meeting earlier than planned due to the continuing disruptive conduct of a small number of individuals, adding such behaviour is completely unacceptable and hugely disappointing. Interim manager Martin O'Neill was also in the room.
I thought it was a really sad morning, and I've just done a little interview there where I mentioned I just wonder what the great Jock Stein would have thought of it all, you know, who preached unity at the football club, said that a club not united would never be successful.
When Ross Desmond spoke, that seemed to tip it for some shareholders on the floor. He was defending the board, he was defending his father. Was he right to say what he said, and do you agree with what he said?
He has every right to say what he said, absolutely. I got this job 25 years ago because of one man, really. What he has done at the football club and the money that he has put in himself is, sometimes those things are forgotten.
O'Neill called for unity at the club, but given today's events, this seems highly unlikely, as the chasm between the board and the rebellious fans seems deeper than ever. Well, shareholders we spoke to after the AGM was cut short were pretty split. Some, as you saw from our report, pointed the finger of blame at individuals on the floor, others at the top table. Well, he'll have more on this story in the sports section of our programme, where we'll once again hear from Celtic interim manager Martin O'Neill on his future. Back to you, John.
For the moment, Rahman, thank you. As temperatures fall, the cost of heating homes is set to increase from the start of next year. The energy price cap is rising from January, meaning higher energy bills for families already struggling with the cost of living. Households who rely more on electricity will be hardest hit. The increase is down to government policy costs, such as funding nuclear power projects. Our political correspondent Ewan Petrie reports.
Every week, hundreds come to this lunch club in Clydebank. Many are here not just for the company, but to save on heating at home.
We've got heat to eat on a Tuesday night, which saves us money.
This latest increase in energy costs will pile more pressure on already stretched households.
The times I've actually sitting on Christmas Day with no gas, no electric, and if it hadn't been for someone giving me money in an envelope, I wouldn't have had any heating on that day or anything. It's a struggle.
You want to put the heating on, but if you're going out, you might as well just brave it and get out and wait till you come home before you actually then put your heating, spend the money on it.
I mostly go to cafes and have tea and something, It's more cheaper for me maybe to buy something than it is to put the cooker on.
The energy price cap sets the maximum price for each unit of gas and electricity. It's not a cap on bills, so those who use more will pay more. From January, it will increase by 0.2%. That means the average household paying by direct debit will see a £3 rise in their annual bill. But the changes won't affect everyone equally.
Gas unit prices have actually fallen fairly substantially. But what's cancelling that out is that electricity prices have risen quite dramatically. So if you live in a house where electricity is your source of heating, this winter is adding further pressure, much greater amounts of pressure than you might imagine when you just look at the surface of this cost increase.
A short distance from the lunch, fuel poverty was the focus of this conference, and how the increase would affect vulnerable households here.
There's a lot of RSL, registered social landlord properties, are all electric. The traditional properties where people are storage heaters, etc., and you have no choice but electricity. And definitely the rurality of Scotland, where there isn't a choice of other fuels, and how loads of houses will just be all electric.
Advice services have seen an increase in demand as more people fall into debt.
Over the last few years, we've seen a steady increase of a lot of working households coming forward for help who have never had to think about their direct debits or, topping up their meters.
What needs to be done then to offer more help to households like that?
I think there needs to be more targeted support to people that are in hardship.
Coping with the cost of living and dealing with debt remain significant challenges for many households. Further increases are forecast in April, fueling pressure on the Chancellor to help families struggling in her budget next week. Ewan Petrie, STV News.
One of Scotland's leading experts in the spread of infectious diseases has told STV News we're barely any safer now from the risk of another pandemic than we were at the start of COVID. Professor Mark Woolhouse also said warnings of a lack of preparedness back in early 2020 were not listened to. It comes after a damning report from the COVID inquiry yesterday laid bare mistakes made by the Scottish and UK governments. Here's our senior reporter, Gordon Cree.
Mark Woolhouse is a professor of infectious disease epidemiology. The report from the UK COVID-19 inquiry highlights how he repeatedly contacted the chief medical officer in early 2020, worried that Scotland wasn't ready for a pandemic, but felt those concerns were brushed off.
One of the reasons that was frustrating is we'd been there before. Remember the swine flu pandemic of 2009-2010? The Royal Society of Edinburgh produced a report, I helped write it, saying exactly what we needed to do in the early stages of the next pandemic. It was all there in black and white on paper. It wasn't acted on.
The inquiry chair, Baroness Hallett, has made 19 recommendations, including that a wider range of experts should be invited to advise government and that there needs to be better communication between the UK and devolved administrations.
I expect that the recommendations in this report will be acted upon and implemented in a timely manner to better protect the people of Scotland and the rest of the United Kingdom. Unless the lessons are learned and fundamental change is implemented, the human and financial cost and sacrifice of the COVID-19 pandemic will have been in vain.
If there was to be another pandemic imminently, aside from the recent memory of the last one, are we any better prepared now than in 2020?
So you mean, have those channels of communication been opened? Well, no, they haven't. Last year ago, a committee that I was on recommended changes to the way that our understanding of a pandemic would develop in the early months by bringing in the wider academic community to help advise the public health agencies. That proposal was badly watered down. It has been implemented, but it's not what was originally envisaged. And I think as a consequence of that, Scotland is barely any safer now in 2025 than it was in 2020.
People will find that quite an astonishing thing to hear. You're basically saying lessons have not been learned.
I find it quite astonishing myself.
Gordon Cree, STV News, Edinburgh.
Almost £1 million is being reallocated to help relieve pressures on accident and emergency departments and improve patient flow during the busy winter months. The Health Secretary insists the NHS is turning a corner as we approach what is predicted to be a difficult flu season. Nursing leaders say reallocating funds is only shifting around the problems, and staff have branded their workload mission impossible. Here's our chief reporter, Sharon Frew.
The patient should be here in about 6 minutes. So after that, we have another potential 2 patients coming into the department.
Inside the emergency departments of Hare Myers, the aim is to keep the flow of patients moving. Liaison officers act as a direct link between the ambulance service and staff to try and minimise delays, dealing with both emergency admissions and those waiting to be discharged. Money has been reallocated to build on this work. Here they know from experience, as the temperatures drop, pressures build and they need to take heat out of the system.
This will absolutely be key to improving waits within ambulances and ambulance turnaround times. It's a number of things that we are improving across the hospitals and across our whole system. It's a bit like a jigsaw and we have to get all these pieces working quickly together.
Long waits within emergency departments highlight the overall strain on staff. From the front to the back door of hospitals, the situation remains extremely challenging.
Of course I am worried. I think everybody within the NHS is worried about what winter looks like. Those waiting times are much longer than we would ever hope or anticipate for our patients, and that does have an impact on the staff, of course. You know, that's not the quality of care that they would like to deliver for their patients. The teams are working really extremely hard to get to everyone and to get everyone to where they need to be.
Across Scotland, flow navigation centres aim to direct people to the most appropriate service for their condition. A system where GPs help triage patients as calls come in is also being expanded.
We're expecting that this £1 million investment has the potential to save 12,000 ambulance journeys, 4,500 attendances at emergency departments, which at this time of year, given the weather that we're currently experiencing and the flu situation that we're facing, is absolutely essential.
This winter plan also includes £20 million to increase capacity in social care. Those supporting nursing staff want to see longer-term solutions.
To alleviate, ambulance waits and to redirect patients, absolutely, that's the right thing we should be doing. But we're doing that by moving the investment around. We're actually just moving the problem around. People want to deliver the best possible care they can, but that has been compromised. I was speaking to one member of staff who absolutely is dedicated, quite clearly dedicated with what to do, and how she described it to me is there's days that it's mission impossible. What they're being asked to do is impossible.
A spike in flu could add to the challenges. A new strain of the virus has arrived early, and those eligible are being urged to take up the offer of a vaccination. Sharon Frew, STV News.
The families of the victims who died in a helicopter crash 3 decades ago will meet UK government ministers next month in their bid for answers. 25 intelligence experts and 4 Special Forces crew were killed when the Chinook helicopter crashed on the Mull of Kintyre in 1994. The Ministry of Defence said they will listen to the Chinook Justice Campaign's concerns. Eastern Bartonshire Council is facing almost 30 civil damages claims from families following a carbon monoxide leak at a primary school. Parents at Balnewry Primary School in Bishop Briggs are suing over the long-term effects of prolonged exposure to the gas and say safety checks were missed. The council says it maintains a rigorous safety monitoring regime and is contesting the civil claims. Glasgow City Council has decided not to replace the weapons in 2 controversial statues as part of the renovation of George Square. Military figures Colin Campbell and Sir John Moore committed colonial atrocities in India, the Caribbean and Africa in the 18th and 19th centuries. The sword of Sir John Moore's statue has been missing for decades but was recast as part of the multi-million-pound restoration.
Most people living now have never seen the swords on the statue, and we promised to restore these statues, to retain them, to preserve them. However, restoring them to their original condition with the swords at a time when we've done such a lot of work around the colonial legacy of Glasgow, I don't think it's appropriate. These soldiers, given what they did, should remain symbolically disarmed.
Once a thriving industrial hub, many historic parts of Govan have been left to decay over the years. But hope for their revival is now growing stronger than ever with increasing investment as the National Lottery Heritage Fund has announced £1.5 million to restore and celebrate the area's historic environment. Badushi Tavari has more.
It's a piece of Glasgow's history that has lain derelict for nearly 4 decades. But now Govan's graving docks are getting a new lease of life.
Govan is undergoing a period of major transformation just now, from the new bridge to the work that's happening here at the graving docks. And those that have been fighting for these changes for decades now say it's been a long time coming.
We spent years trying to get something done. Nothing ever happened at this side. It always happened over the other side of the water. Quite honestly, I thought we'd never get to see this happening. I've never had these opportunities before. It's just so exciting. I think Govan's a place to be, at last.
This part of the docks will feature green spaces, pedestrian paths and a space for markets and live events. It's part of efforts to make the waterfront accessible and exciting on both sides of the Clyde.
This will be a beautiful sort of park area. You'll be able to see views of the River Clyde, and I think that's one of the things as a city that we need to do more of. We need to make more use of the river. If you go to any other European city, they've always got the facilities focused around the rivers, and this is the start of us being able to do some of that in Glasgow as well.
The regeneration is being supported by a new £1.5 million injection to improve key public spaces and historic landmarks.
It's not about investing in just one thing in one place. It's about supporting a much wider development. We're interested in people and places and connection, and using heritage for building those things together and moving into new phases of life for places like Govan.
The Graving Docks project is expected to be ready for visitors by spring next year, a promising start to a bright future for Govan. Vidushi Tiwari, STV News.
Let's go back to Rahman at Celtic Park for more on the disruption of the club's AGM and the rest of the sport.
STV Sport, sponsored by the C.R. Smith Black Friday sale.
Hello again from Celtic Park. As you may have seen earlier in the programme, Celtic's AGM was abandoned today after what the club say was disruptive and completely unacceptable behaviour from a small number of individuals. Some fans are angry with the way the club is being run and they want change at the top. Martin O'Neill attended the AGM. Let's hear from him.
There were people who would want to have asked questions, and the board have said that they've made mistakes. They've, and I think there's only so many times that you can apologise, and then you have to get on with things again. So we'll start again, and hopefully that will start when the new manager comes in. A United Celtic will be far better equipped to compete.
Well, Martin O'Neill took time away from training today to attend the AGM. He's still interim manager. He'll be in the dugout for the match against St Mirren tomorrow. But for how much longer?
It could well be, and it could well be. And if we lost the game, then this is the point. Not only am I going sort of like game by game in that sense, and a new manager coming in, but obviously, you can outstay your welcome here as well. You lose the games, and people will want to try and make a change pretty quickly then after that.
OK, let's give you some other football news tonight. And Rangers boss Danny Rose says it's time for his squad to step up and surprise them after being hit with an injury crisis. Meanwhile, Hearts boss Derek McInnes says Aberdeen will be out to put Hearts in their place as they travel to Pittodrie unbeaten and 7 points clear at the top of the Premiership. Here's Jamie Borthwick.
It's been a far from straightforward season at Ibrox, both on and off the pitch. And on the day that Rangers announced a near £15 million loss in their latest annual accounts, there was bad news for Danny Rule, with John Souttar, Derek Cornelius and Mikey Moore ruled out for around a month, and Yusuf Chermiti also a doubt for tomorrow's match against Livingston.
Football happens. I had some good conversations the last couple of days with some other players. I think it's now also an opportunity to step up. Sometimes in this moment some players surprise you and show. I think it was good to have a good group last week and this week then together. We trained well. It is what it is. It's about solutions, and hopefully we have tomorrow a good solution.
It was dropped points before the international break for Hearts, but they still hold a 7-point advantage at the top of the table. Next up, a Sunday trip to Pittodrie, a venue where the Edinburgh men haven't tasted victory in 9.5 years.
I know it's been a while since the Hearts team's won up there, but we look at ourselves, we look at performances. There's no reason why we can't go if we play well, but we're up against a team who I think will be determined to put us in our place and try and have that kind of. There's always been that kind of healthy rivalry, I think, between Hearts and Aberdeen. There's always been teams with similar sized clubs and similar ambitions. So Sunday we have a lot of good players on the pitch, a good test of their abilities to win at a difficult place.
Hibs look to make it back-to-back victories when they host Dundee at Easter Road tomorrow. That clash is one of 5 Saturday fixtures in the top flight, with Falkirk travelling to Tannadice and Kilmarnock hosting Motherwell. St Mirren are away to Celtic. Jamie Borthwick, STV Sport.
Rugby now, and Gregor Townsend insists he never considered his position following Scotland's collapse against Argentina last week. The Dark Blues were winning 21-0 at half-time, but Argentina rallied to a convincing 33-24 win. Townsend is preparing his side to take on Tonga in their final autumn test on Sunday. Well, that, folks, is all of your sport from me live from Celtic Park on a day like no other. Red cards, boos and jeers, and then an abandonment. That sums it up. Bye for now.
STV Sport, sponsored by the C.R. Smith Black Friday sale.
Sean's here with the weather, and it's not quite as cold as last night, Sean.
Yeah, if you popped outside just a wee while ago, big change from last night. Remember the weather map I showed you last night? It was deep shade of blue on it, and we were looking at temperatures parts of Lanarkshire around Glasgow about -2, -3 already. Look at that map. That is right now. A green shade on it. The blues have almost disappeared. And look, right now, 8 degrees in Tyree, 5 in Paisley at the moment, 6 in Oban. That milder air is very slowly trickling its way eastwards. There's the blues from earlier on this morning, the green colour coming in from the west, along with some rain, so pretty wet through tonight. Let's have a look.
Wet by the coast, with a high chance of sun and splashing. TUI sponsors STV Weather.
Well, the mucky, yucky thaw has begun. I'm using those words because it's after a cold spell like this and we get all that grit on the road getting washed up onto your cars, and it'll get pretty filthy out there. Make sure you've got your screen wash filled up, ready for it. Very mild through tonight compared to last night. Remember the map I showed you last night? That deep shade of blue on it? Temperatures down -9, -10 last night. Tonight we're +5, +7, +8 degrees, so much milder. A cloudy and rather wet night to come. Some quite heavy bursts of rain coming through. Right about 11 o'clock midnight, that's when the heaviest of the rain will run through, and then that clears away southwards. Now tomorrow actually not looking too bad for most of us. A lot of dry sunny weather after the morning patchy rain has cleared away, but we will see a few showers, maybe Kilmarnock, Kilwinning, Saltcoats, Ayr, Girvan, Ballantrae, and also across Arran, and more widely Argyll and Bute and the Highlands. But for most of us, a dry afternoon with sunshine. Your afternoon highs are up at about 7 to 10 degrees Celsius, 50 degrees in Fahrenheit. Sunday we're going to see a weather front coming in from the south. That gives us a lot of cloud and outbreaks of rain. The further north we go into the Highlands, we've got drier and brighter weather on Sunday, so we will see some heavy bursts of rain, I think, at times during Sunday for the likes of Glasgow. Monday, Tuesday, you're looking pretty good days. Wednesday, Thursday, not quite as good. It looks quite wet. Open, heavy showers around during tomorrow, but have a look at the temperatures. We're up to highs of 9 or 10 degrees by the end of next week.
TUI sponsors STV Weather.
And finally, it's been a massive week for the Tartan Army, but for one little fan, Scotland's qualification for the World Cup was extra special. 7-year-old Maisie McCall from Greenock was among the mascots escorting the players onto the pitch. She spoke to our reporter, Raheem Cham.
It was a historic night for Scotland, but for 7-year-old Maisie McCall and her dad, it was the experience of a lifetime. A lucky raffle draw gave Maisie the chance to be one of 22 player escorts selected to lead the national teams out onto the pitch before kick-off.
Oh, as part of the Tartan Army membership, we get emails out to enter into ballots for the player mascots or player escorts, as I call them. And thankfully we were selected.
Maisie was chosen to walk out with the Danish players. With her braided ponytail, she lined up beside Patrick Dogu, the player who will go on to score Denmark's second equaliser.
I got my uniform and some snacks. I went to my seat and I went out. I got some pictures, went to the tunnel, the fireworks and the players started to come, and then we walked out.
And then something extraordinary happened.
Maisie came back from pitch side absolutely freezing, and as she came in, we turned round and Scott McTominay had done his overhead kick when she arrived back to the seat, didn't you? Even though you were really cold, we were up celebrating. So perfect, couldn't have got any better timing getting back to their seat.
What was that experience like for you?
It was a night neither of them will forget, but for Jason, it became even more meaningful when someone very special remembered too.
My dad's suffering with Alzheimer's, so he came along and he actually remembered the game the next day as well. That just shows you how much of an impact that had. So it was fantastic, wasn't it, to celebrate with Granda?
Yeah.
A historic match, a once-in-a-lifetime moment, and a memory cherished by 3 generations. One Scotland night they will hold on forever. Raheem Cham, STV News, Greenock.
It's been quite the week, hasn't it? And a lovely way to remember it. From all of us here, thank you for watching. Have a great weekend. Good night.